appearing real. Stop being scared of going to do the things that are going to take you to that next level. Okay. Stop fearing failure. Stop fearing doing the things that make you uncomfortable. Because not only does fear stand for false evidence appearing real, if you want to add another acronym to it, the one that I use is face everything and rise. Face every challenge, everything that is put on your path, face it head on and rise. Can't be scared of anything in this journey. You know why? Because most people are scared. Most people live in fear. You got to be the one that's a savage. You got to be the one that's willing to do whatever it takes. If you got to be the first one up every morning, you're the first one up every morning. You the one that got to go talk to 10 new people on your business, go talk to those 10 new people about your business. You're the one that got to go out there and read books every day and listen to audios and take a flight to a place that you've never been. Then be the one that does those things. One of the things I did to get rid of all my fears, I jumped out of a plane in Dubai. I had a huge fear of heights and doing things like that. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just do it and face one of my biggest fears in life and just do it. And ever since I did that, it changed my life. I'll never forget the day someone said to me, they were like, yo, I know somebody that jumped out of a plane and 2 years later he became a millionaire. I'm like, well, guess what I'm gonna go do? I'm gonna go jump out of a plane so I can be the millionaire too. And you know, I actually jumped out of a plane about a year and a half ago. And honestly, within the next 6 months to a year, I'll be a seven-figure earner. So I think the story is gonna be the same for me. I jumped out of a plane, and now 2 years, 2.5 years later, I'm a millionaire as well. Why? Because I got rid of all the fears. There's no fears in my heart anymore for anything. I could talk in front of thousands of people on stage. I could talk to anybody. I could close any business owner. You could put me in front of anything, any challenge. I'm ready to go. You could put me at the front of any pack, and I'll lead that pack. I'm not scared of nothing. What do I got to be scared of? Failure? I love failure, so that's not what I'm scared of. What do I have to be scared of? What people have to say about me? Most people that have things to say about me don't have the results that I want, so I'm not gonna listen to them anyways. What do I have to be scared of? What do I have to be fearful of? Nothing. I'm a savage. And regardless of even if I do fall and I fail, guess what, guys? Failure is your first attempt in learning. So I'm just learning. For me, it's not failing. For me, it's a lesson. That's all it is. Not scared of it. Not scared to go out there and do things that I've never done before. You know why? Because in order for you to get what you want, you got to do things that you've never done before. And that's why I'm such a savage. That's why I move the way that I move. You can't be filled with fear during this journey, because in this journey, you're going to have to do a lot of things that you're scared of. You don't think I was scared of talking to people about my business? You didn't think I was scared when I was flying to different cities to build with different leaders and do different things? You don't think I was scared when I had to do Zoom calls with hundreds of people? You don't think I was scared when I had to, speak on stages where hundreds of people were looking at me? Posting my videos on Instagram and posting stories and posting pictures. All that stuff I used to be scared of. But Will Smith taught me something that I'll never forget. He said the best things in life are on the other side of fear. And it has changed everything for me ever since I heard that. So that's number 4. Pillar number 4 is being fearful. Pillar number 5, and the last and the final one, is spirituality, fam. You see, I learned in this journey that 99% of success is spiritual and 1% of it is physical. Okay? And I want you all to understand that your spirituality is all based on your faith. Faith is believing in the unseen. Okay, believing in the things that you cannot see yet, believing that you're gonna accomplish those things. Okay, and I literally did a podcast episode in this season that talks about how to improve your belief. It's called the triangle of belief. Take a look at it if you haven't. But guys, you got to understand, okay, when it comes to spirituality, spirituality is all based on faith. Okay, faith that has not been tested cannot be trusted. Okay, so in this spiritual journey, you got to understand that you're going to be tested as well. All right, and you got to believe in the things that you cannot see yet. I couldn't see this condo that I live in now, but guess what? I believed that I was going to get it. I couldn't see me making $30,000, $50,000 a month, but guess what? I believed it in anyways. Okay. There's a lot of things that my spirituality has taught me. And most importantly, it has been building that closer and deeper relationship with my higher power, with God. You know, every day I feel protected. Every day I'm in perfect alignment. I'm at the right place at the right time with the right people at all times. Okay. I understand my emotional intelligence. Every day I'm working to be the best version of myself on a spiritual level because I understand that I am a human being having a spiritual experience. Okay? And that's what you have to understand. Okay? That this is a spiritual journey that we are all on. Our human bodies are just a physical representation of the spirituality that we live in. So you got to understand the spiritual side of success. You got to understand belief, faith, the words that you use on a day-to-day basis, understanding that your emotions are your guidance scale. Okay, they're the ones that are guiding you towards your success. This is key information that you all got to understand. And you know, when you're on this journey, okay, sometimes you tend to focus too much on the physical side of success, which is the work, the actions you got to take every day, the calls you have to do, the presentations, the trainings. That's all the physical work, but the physical work is only 1 to 10% of it. The real work is the spiritual work, the inner work, the work that is done within. Okay? Because the reality that you live on the outside is a reflection of what you live on the inside. If you're not happy with the outside, I think it's time that you start checking the inner version of you. Okay? You got to get rid of those fears. The only way you can get rid of those fears is through spirituality. The only way you're going to stop that doubt, those insecurities, those negative feelings is by working on your spirituality every single day. When I wasn't tapping into my spiritual side of success, I was stuck at $2,000 a month for almost a year. I did all the physical work. Nobody worked harder than me. I did all the op calls. I did all the presentations. I did everything that was required of me, okay, on a physical level to accomplish those things. But I was stuck at 2,000 a month. The moment I started to tap into the spiritual side of success, I started to change the words that I spoke, the things that I heard, the images that I saw. I started to. All right, guys, let's get started with today's call. Amazing. I'm back home. Grand Rising. Happy Friday. TGIF. Thank God it is Friday. Super excited to be on this call with all of you guys. I pray everybody is having a phenomenal start to their days. I'm feeling so good. I am so excited to be back home, but it's always bittersweet, right? Because you want to stay on the road, but you also want to come home. You wanna stay on the beach, but then I live in Miami, so Miami's kind of like the beach as well, right? So I'm always grateful to come home, and it made me realize I'm like, I went from palm trees to palm trees. I went from beaches to beaches. And, sometimes we take for granted the life that we live, but in reality is all right here for us. Let me clean the camera a little bit. This camera looks a little bit Looks a little bit blurry for me if I'm not tripping. Here you go. I think that looks better. So yeah, DCA Friday, baby. Exactly, DCA Friday. But welcome, guys, to Mornings with Nano YouTube edition. Very excited for today's call because I get a chance to teach you guys a new topic, a new concept that I learned recently, and I wanted to share with you guys. It's called the FlyWheel Effect, and I think that this is something that we can all take advantage of, especially because of the season that we're in. All right, this season is a big season for all of us, and it's a season for us to get connected with ourselves and also get consistent with everything that we got to do in life in order for us to accomplish the things that we want in life. And today's going to be a phenomenal day. We're going into a new weekend. It's one of those months where a lot of success is upon us. We're growing, we're elevating, we're doing our morning routines, we're tapping in more with ourselves. And this is an important time for us to be focused on our personal inner growth, right? This is a great time for you to be taking action. This is not a time to be distracted. This is not a time to be, in a position where you're not going to be in the best version of yourself. And we're actually a week away today, a week from today. It'll be Mornings with Nano's 6-year anniversary. It's so crazy to even think about it. I was thinking about it earlier. I'm like, bro, it's amazing how it has really came this far. I would have never thought that a call that, a friend of mine told me, hey, I would love for you to start, teaching us about mindset every morning. Never would I've ever thought that I would be doing it 6 years later consistently over the last couple of years, which is absolutely amazing. The amount of impact that we've had, the people that we've helped, the content that we've created, the business that we've been able to build, it has absolutely been incredible. And that's going to be next Friday. And I actually get a chance to celebrate that with you guys before I fly out to Paris, because I'm actually going to be flying to Paris next Friday. So yes, grateful for you as well, Rosie. Grateful that you jumped on these calls, and grateful for everybody that hops on them. So, everything is going amazing, and I'm looking forward to it. So today we're going to be talking about the flywheel effect. This is how you build unstoppable momentum. Now, I actually got this training from a book that's called From Good to Great. And yes, we are on YouTube right now as well. You can find me under Mornings with Nano or under Kevin Torres, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's my profile name, at Mornings with Nano. You can find it at Mornings with Nano. But it's called the flywheel effect. And before we jump into today's training, all right, I want to make sure that you guys know that, on these trainings, I want you guys to take notes. I want you guys to be fully intentional. Yes, I know you guys can just listen in, but to really get the most out of these trainings is you got to make sure that you're taking notes, that you're, taking all the information, and that you're educating yourself, that, you're taking the time on a day-to-day basis to intentionally listen, but also apply this information. And if there's anything that I could teach you guys that I've learned about taking notes, there's two important things I learned about taking notes. And this is how I take high level notes so that you guys know. When I start taking notes, I go into the taking notes process with the word called ACT. ACT. All right. Yes, Jim Collins for the book. ACT. This is how I take notes. All right. And the A is for what am I going to apply from today's training? What am I going to change for the C? And then the T is what am I going to teach? All right. When I go into any training, I go in looking for these things. Okay, what am I going to apply from the training that Nano teaches today? What am I going to change from what Nano teaches today? And what am I going to teach? This is how you go into trainings more intentionally. This was something that helped me out a ton throughout my journey, because I understood going in, okay, I'm going to apply this, I'm going to change this, and I'm going to teach this. So that's one way that I level up my notes. I apply ACT. And then another thing that I do is I ask questions as I'm teaching. Sorry, I ask questions as I'm taking notes. So let me give you guys an example. So let's say, for example, we were talking about this book. what to say when you talk to yourself. And let's say, we're going over the levels of self-talk. You can either ask yourself questions, or you can ask the person that is teaching you questions. But here's how I would do it, just so that you guys have an understanding. There's two ways to ask the questions. Let's say, for example, I'm learning about level 1 self-talk. We said that level 1 self-talk is the level of negative acceptance. It's the most destructive level of self-talk. When we use words, I can't, I wish I could, if only I could, right? It's amazing how I could remember that. Thank you for my beautiful memory, God. I'm so blessed. I'm so grateful. Thank you. So what I would do is I would write a question down, like let me see. What are some words that I'm using on a day-to-day basis that is destroying my character? And I would write it down, and you got to think about it. Now you got to think about that answer, because you'll think about it. Or you can ask a question to the person speaking. Okay. Hey, how did Nano overcome his negative self-talk? How did Nano go from level 1 self-talk to level 4 self-talk? And remember, guys, these are questions that you can ask in the chat. There's only a couple of people that ask questions in the chat. Believe it or not, a lot of people don't really ask questions on Mornings with Nano. So I always take, like, if you look at my journal, that's how I take notes. I take notes using ACT, and I take notes asking questions. Once my mentor taught me that, I was never the same, because he said, hey, maybe you can't get the questions answered right away, but guess what? If you do get the opportunity, you're prepared and you're ready. So I was always prepared and ready, because I would go to these events, and I was writing down the questions. And let's say Nano was speaking on stage, and I would be like, questions for Nano. Even if I don't talk to him, I have the questions written down of kind of the questions that I needed. So next thing you know, I see him at the line at Starbucks. I catch him in the elevator. I see him walking out of the bathroom, whatever it is. Yo, Nano, what's up, bro? First off, thank you so much for that amazing lesson. Do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions about what you spoke about? Yes. Well, look, I already had a list of questions already ready. You know what that shows? The person that you're prepared, that you're hungry, that you want more. So there were many times that I did that to certain speakers, that they were very surprised, and they were very grateful that I was just such a student to the game, because I was always prepared. So just a quick tip, guys, that you guys can use for future preferences and future circumstances where you're at events, on a call. You never know. Am I saying that every time you're going to get your questions answered? No. There was many times that I wrote questions down that I never got them answered. But there were many times as well that I did write them down, that I did get an opportunity to, ask them, and then I got great answers for them. So just something to think about. Little quick tips. Put a 2 in the chat box if those quick tips are effective and you appreciate them, because they are really good tips. They are really good tips. And look, nowadays, you don't even need to talk to the person. You know what you could do? You could just go on ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT the questions. So that's the reality of it. ChatGPT is a great, great mentor, 100%. So let's talk about today's topic. Today's topic is the flywheel effect. How to build unstoppable momentum all summer. All right. How to build unstoppable momentum all summer. Now, we all want to build momentum, but we got to remember, success is not one big moment. It's the silent, steady work that no one claps for until the wheel starts spinning. So let's jump into point number 1. What is the flywheel effect? Let's talk about it. What is the flywheel effect? Well, imagine a giant heavy wheel. You guys ever seen those heavy wheels that just spin and spin and spin, and they generate electricity and power? Does everybody know what I'm talking about, right? Does everybody understand what I'm talking about on this call right now? All right. If you don't, then let me show you really fast. The big flywheels. They're called like wind turbines. These. All right. Let me just share here. Just in case nobody knows. This is what I'm talking about right here. All right. These are wind turbines, but the spinning is called the flywheel. Okay. What causes them to spin It's called the flywheel, right? So now that we understand that, okay, here is what the flywheel, all of us have seen these. I'm sure at some point in our lives, whether we've seen them in person or whether we've seen them in movies, we've seen them, right? So this is a giant heavy wheel. And you're going to be able to use them for many different kinds. So here's what the thing is with that. It's very big. And in the beginning, it's really hard to move at first. You push it once and it barely moves. You push it again and it's still slow. You push it again and again. And eventually what happens is, as you get it to turn one time, then it turns twice, then 3 times, then 4 times. Then by a certain time, after a certain amount of spins, then boom, it's spinning on its own. That's what the flywheel effect is. It means that big success doesn't come from one big action. It comes from the small, consistent actions that are repeated over time. So at first, it feels like nothing is happening, but then the momentum kicks in. Then you become unstoppable. And this is what we got to keep in mind. All right. In the beginning, it's hard. And this is what I always explain to people. In the beginning, it's hard to get the wheel moving. This is why I've always told people, hey, if you ever want to build momentum, forget about doing your morning routine for 90 days. Forget about doing all of these big things that people talk about, 75 hard. These are great challenges that you can give yourself. But you know what the hardest thing is doing your morning routine consistently for 7 days. Do your best to do your routine for at least 7 days consistently, Monday through Sunday. That's the first challenge, because that's what's going to get the wheel moving. Once you get the wheel moving, then it'll start moving on its own. But it's proving to yourself that you could do it every single day. So the flywheel effect is very simple. It's understanding that it's going to take small daily actions every day to be able to get yourself to get the ball rolling. A lot of people, what happens is they never get the ball rolling because they never stay consistent enough to keep the ball rolling. They start, they stop, they start, they stop, they start, they stop, they start, they stop. That's a huge momentum killer. Because if you're starting and then you're stopping your momentum. You show up for a week, next week you're non-existent, you stopped your momentum. You show up 3 days and then 2 days you don't show up, you stopped your momentum. If we want to build a lot of momentum, unstoppable momentum this summer, we have to start and we have to keep going until we can't anymore. My mentor once taught me this and I never forgot it. He said, Nano, I remember this summer like it was yesterday. He said, this summer we work until failure. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, you remember when you lift, have you ever lifted weights and you ever did a max out rep where you go until you can't lift it anymore? You do push-ups until your arms are trembling. You can't even do push-ups. Have you guys ever done push-ups or abs or squats or lifted any weights to the point till failure, till your body can't anymore? Has anybody put a 1 in the chat box if you guys understand what I'm talking about right now? We have to do that with our work, right? So we all understand what we're saying, right? Until failure. He said, work until you can't anymore. There should be no time for breaks throughout your day. It should be all day working till failure. And I remember he said, yo, this summer, I want you to work till failure. Work until you can't anymore. Take a weekend off and start all over again. Work until failure. He said, go as much as you can without taking a day off. Go 7 days, 14 days, 21 days, 30 days. Then, and when you feel exhausted to the point where you can't even pick up a phone call anymore, he says, take a weekend off, recharge, and get back into it. He says, keep working until failure until you can't anymore. And I didn't understand that concept back then, but now I do. Because I remember the momentum that I would create when I would work till failure. Because I was working Monday through Sunday, many times a week, many times a month. And then there were times I remember, dude, I was so tired one time that one of my leaders had basically she was introducing me to somebody to get them into the business. And you know how in the beginning of the phone call, they basically do something called edification, where they're introducing you. Like, hey, Nano, this is Michael. Michael, this is Vladimir. As my leader is introducing me, I am so tired that I literally fell asleep on the phone as they were doing the introduction. That's how tired I was. And then I remember that leader ends up going to her leader and saying, yo, I invited Nano to introduce him to somebody that was going to join the business, and he fell asleep on the call. Can you talk to him and tell him to get some rest? And I remember my leader called me up like, Nano, I love you, but you need to get some rest, bro. We can't have you falling asleep on three-way calls, bro. Like, get some rest. And that's when I knew that I had worked till failure, because for me to fall asleep on a three-way call is actually insane. And I felt awful. I felt awful. But here's the thing. I took the weekend off, and then we ended up reconnecting. And the person that the person that they had worked on connecting me with, they respected me. They were like, yo, bro, I know that last time you fell asleep, but I ended up finding out is because you've been working so hard, and the fact that you fell asleep on a call because you've been working so hard, I respect that. He like, I want to work with people like you, bro. The fact that you literally, even though you were exhausted, you still took the time to do your best to meet me, even though you were exhausted. I respect that. And the guy ended up joining the business. He loved it. You know, he didn't stay long term, but you know, we're still friends till this day. And you know, he respected the hard work. But I was working till failure. I was working till failure because I was willing to do whatever it took to change my life. Like that's the kind of work that sometimes is required. You got to be willing to do what everybody else isn't willing to do. All right. So, and if you think about it, the flywheel effect, when I learned this, I thought about Mornings with Nano. And the flywheel effect was perfect with Mornings with Nano, because Mornings with Nano, talking about being 6 years, right? For example, I started Mornings with Nano June 20th, 2019. June 20th, 2019. It's June 13th, 2025. All right. In a week, it'll be 6 years. Now, if we think back to day one, there were like 30 people on Mornings with Nano. Barely, right? Barely like 20, 30 people. All right. But then guess what happens? Day two, day three, month one, month three, year one. You know, at the all-time high, Mornings with Nano was averaging 6,000 people, with an all-time high when I had Bob Proctor on my call of almost 9,000 people. But that was the flywheel effect. You know, today we get, you know, a couple hundred people that jump on, you know, watch the recordings. We get about 400 to 500 views and so on and so forth. But, you know, the flywheel effect is still in motion. It's still in motion still to this day. So just to keep it simple, point number one, the flywheel effect is understanding that big success doesn't come from one big action. It comes from the small, consistent actions that are repeated over time. And at first, it's gonna feel like nothing is happening, but then the momentum kicks in, and you become unstoppable. And that's the key. So first thing you got to understand is that it's small, consistent actions that create the flywheel effect. All right. Now, let's go to point number two. The wheel rewards consistency, not intensity. And let me explain. The wheel rewards consistency, not intensity. It's not about how hard you go one day. It's about how long you stay committed over time. So you could go hard today, give it everything you have today, but one day is not enough. It's about how consistent you can stay over long periods of times. This is why I always teach people, hey, it's cool that you went hard today. It's cool that you went hard this week. It's great that you went hard this month, but can you go hard next month? Can you go hard this week? It's about how long you can push the wheel over long periods of times. And here's where it gets difficult, because here's how I built my consistency. Let me tell you guys the truth of how I built my consistency. This is how I built my consistency over time, because believe it or not, Nano wasn't consistent at one point in his life. I wasn't. But here's how I build it. I used to set goals for myself. And what I would do is I would set goals for myself, and I wouldn't set a new goal until I accomplished it. So, for example, I would set a goal. Okay, Neno, my goal is to finish my full morning routine for 3 days. That was my first goal. I remember 3 days. Can I do my full morning routine for 3 days where I'm waking up at this? Remember, guys, it's about intentionality and completing the task. So I use my morning routine as an example always because this is something that we can all relate with. Some of us don't do the same things, so we're not going to be able to relate in other areas. But let's talk about a morning routine as an example. So I would be like, okay, I'm going to prove to myself I could do it for 3 days. And I intentionally do it 3 days. I wake up at the same time all 3 days. I finish my full routine from prayer to gratitude to reading to journaling to everything, right? So, boom, I finish it. I did 3 days. Boom, great. Now, let me prove to myself I could do 7 days. All right, so I did 3 days. Now, Neno, let's go and let's do 4 more days and let's finish a 7 day consistency run. I did 7 days. Now, let's push 14 days. I pushed 14 days, 21 days. I did 21 days, then I would go for 30. I set targets for myself. And if I ever slipped up, I had to start all over again. But I would only consider slip ups back-to-back days. So let's say, for example, I slipped up on day 25. I didn't do my routine, but I got back on at day 26. I'm still good. The only time I would have to start all over was if I slipped up back-to-back days. So I was able to build this consistency for myself over the days. And it helped me out so much because I had a rule. You can never go back to back. You can't go back to back days without doing it. Maybe one day is a slip up and it happens because life happens and and it is what it is. But back to back days, then now you're compounding in the wrong way. I was able to build that up at my best to over 115 days to be exact, close to 120 days where I did it that way. But when I did it, my whole life changed. I was never the same ever since because I was so consistent that time. Still to this day, I did that one time, and still to this day, I'm reaping the rewards of the one time that I did that because it built a new identity in me. It showed me what my mind, my spirit, my everything is capable of when you stay consistent over long periods of times. I was so involved in the grind and the love of seeing who I was becoming. It was absolutely incredible. And this is what I would love for you guys to do this summer. I don't want you guys to go out there and go hard only for a week because, like I said, the wheel doesn't reward intensity. It rewards consistency. The summer hasn't started yet. Summer starts for, if I'm not mistaken, the 20th. The 20th or the 21st. Can you go from June 20th till September 20th, all 90 days, consistently working on you? And if you've already been consistently working on you, then guess what? You're going to add more days to that, making you the biggest priority. And guess what? If you jump on Mornings with Nano, I'm going to remind you daily about it. So just remember, the wheel is going to reward your consistency. It's not going to reward intensity. Now, obviously, if you can do consistency and intensity, now we're talking a whole different language. All right? We're speaking a whole different language. Because write this down. Consistency is the currency of greatness. Wait, it's still spring? Yeah, it's still spring. It's still spring till June 20th by the numbers and by the dates, technically. So you got to remember that the wheel rewards consistency, not intensity. And this is key. So if you guys could do this over long periods of time, this will help you more than anything. Yeah, the 20th is summer solstice, right? So this is important. All right. Now let's go to number 3. Point number 3 that I want to cover with you guys, because I do got to wrap it up here soon. I got to go get a haircut. And I got a long drive. Success has a cycle. Success has a cycle. And what do I mean by that? Every single one of us, we're leaders. And leaders don't just show up once. We don't just show up in the spring. We don't just show up in the summer. We show up in every season. We show up in every cycle. And it's up to us to build the rhythm that's going to turn the flywheel daily. And there's a system for that. There's a system for all of that. And you got to follow that system. You got to follow that cycle. Because look, my cycle is pretty simple. I love my cycle. I spoke about it to you guys on last week. Or no, I actually spoke about it this week. About the core four that I follow every day. Right? I do my morning routine. For my morning routine, I jump into Mornings with Nano. I do my trading before 12 o'clock. I build my business in the afternoon, and I post on social media. And then I just kind of follow this cycle, this core four cycle where I'm doing my personal development, I'm building my skills, I'm building my business and my team, and I'm posting on social media to document the journey. That is my cycle of success that I follow with my flywheel. If I can do that every single day where I'm completing my core four, if Monday through Sunday, I could wake up and I could be like, yo, you know what, Nano? At the end of the day, did you do your personal development? Check. Did you develop your skills today? Check. Did you build your business and your team today? Check. And did you post on social media for documentation? Check. That's my flywheel right there. As long as I'm doing those four things every single day, my flywheel is moving. If I'm slipping up in one of those areas, then my flywheel slows down. If my flywheel slows down, then my momentum slows down. If my momentum slows down, my team momentum slows down. My business slows down. Everything else slows down because you are the reflection of your environment. So if you're not happy with the movement of your environment, is because you are the flywheel and you are in control of your cycle. Everyone here is in control of their own cycles. Understand that you can't lead other people until you lead yourself. So your flywheel has to be in full momentum so that other people can follow the same flywheel as well. This is important. So that's why I keep my system simple, and I teach my system to my team, and I teach my system to my students and everybody around me. Because I say, yo, you know what? I want everybody here to win. I want everybody here to elevate with me. So I want to be the example. Here are the four things that we can all do every day. Everybody can do the same four things that I'm doing. Everybody can do their personal development every day. Everybody can focus on developing a skill that can pay them every day. Everybody can build their business and their teams every day. And everybody here can post on social media every day. We can all do those four things. Regardless of whatever business you're in, you can do those things. Because everybody has to develop themselves, work on themselves. Everybody has skills that they got to learn, whether that's trading, whether that's investing, whether that's building online stores, whether it's sales, whatever it is. We all have skills we got to learn, right? We all have businesses we got to grow, people that we have to introduce to our businesses, teams and people that we got to develop. And then we all have social medias. Because remember, I don't know if you guys know this, but your social media is your online resume nowadays. Your social media is your online resume. I get told this all the time. Nowadays, when I'm getting booked for speaking engagements and people want to know if I'm credible or not, hey, send me your socials. They don't even ask for regular resumes anymore. Let me see your socials. Show me your website. How many of us are building our personal brands that way? That's something I'm going to be launching here soon as well, is teaching people how to build their personal brands, because I realize a lot of us are not taking advantage of the fact that every single one of us, we are our own personal brands, right? Michael Howard, you're a personal brand. La Tierra, you're a personal brand. Amber, Eunice, Keita, who else? Vladimir, Emmy, Marianne, Tonette, Clem, Ricardo, Pat, Carmen Torres, Mela, Simone, right? Zion. You guys are all personal brands. All of us are personal brands. You can build something so much bigger than what you're building right now if you knew how to build your personal brand. You don't need a luxury store to be a brand. Guys, your name is your brand. Think about it, guys. My brand is Nano. Isn't that crazy when you think about it? The name Nano is my brand, and it's made me a lot of money. I've built hoodies and merchandise from my brand. I've built podcasts from my brand. I've done speaking engagements because of my brand. I've gotten paid to do all these different things, all because of the Nano brand. And there's still so much more to accomplish. You see, the thing with me is I don't release anything unless it's intentional. So I have a lot of things in the work, but I will never release it until it's intentional. Because remember, YOLO, not you only live once, you only launch once. So if I'm ever going to launch something, it has to be intentional. It has to be something that I believe in and that I know it's going to be effective and that I know is going to help the family. So understanding this is very key. Understanding this is very key. I'm doing the same thing with my retreat. All right. My retreat, I'm only launching that one time, but I got to make sure it's right. So we already got everything organized. We're going to start accepting deposits soon. So get ready for that. Get ready for that, because this retreat is going to be life-changing. And guess what? There's only like 13 to 15 spots available. So it's going to sell out like this. And I'm only going to be able to accept certain amount of people into the retreat. All right. I'm only going to accept a small amount of people. As I do more of them, we'll open them up for bigger ones, but there'll only be a small amount. I think the first one will fit anywhere between 15 to 20 people, depending on obviously how many people bring their couples or bring their girlfriend or boyfriend or not, whatever it is, wife and husbands. But in reality, if it came down to it and it was everybody's single occupancy, then we really only have like 13 spots available. Call it what it is. So it's going to be special. It's going to be something that you guys would never, ever, ever imagine. And I'm going to be launching it at some point next week for the 6-year anniversary of Mornings with Nano. So I'm excited for that. And I cannot wait for you guys to see this amazing retreat that I have planned for all of you guys. Everything is being finalized as we speak. All right. So like I was saying, success has a cycle. Follow a cycle. What's your cycle? And then last but not least, number 4 is fall in love with the push. Fall in love with the push. Now, what do I mean by fall in love with the push? The best part of the flywheel effect is that once it starts spinning, it takes less energy because your identity starts to become aligned with your habits. You see, once you get the ball rolling, think about it. You ever go from not going to the gym to then start going to the gym, and then it's like going to the gym just kind of becomes automatic? Have you guys ever been there where in the beginning it was almost like a struggle to get you to the gym? It was so hard to get you to the gym. But once you get into like kind of like this flow of going to the gym, it's just so much easier to go. You're just like, oh, this is easy. Let me go. And it just becomes like an everyday thing. It's the same thing with reading a book, right? When you start reading in the beginning, it's so hard. If the book feels so heavy to pick it up almost. But once you start reading and you read every day for a week or two, now picking up the book and reading it is even easier. Guys, it's the same thing with the flywheel effect. The magic isn't when the wheel spins fast. The magic is when you become the type of person that pushes it regardless of the speed. That's who becoming the best version of you starts with, is you pushing that wheel all the time. Keep pushing it. Keep pushing it. Fall in love with the push. Fall in love with pushing things that you haven't been doing. So for example, if you haven't been meditating every day, start meditating every day so that you can get back into it. You got to push yourself into doing it. Remember, last week we were talking about how so many of you guys weren't reading that much. I pushed you guys to read. Yo, fall in love with the push. Start reading more. If you haven't been listening to audios, listening to books, listening to podcasts, start doing more of that. If you haven't been journaling, Push yourself. Fall in love with the push. Pushing yourself to do the things that you've been pushing back, if that makes sense. Because a lot of us, we've been pushing a lot of things back. I'll read another day. I'll journal another day. I'll go to the gym another day. I'll do this another day. No, fall in love with pushing yourself to do the things that are going to help you be successful. Push yourself to read the books. Push yourself to journal. Push yourself to read the Bible. Push yourself to go to church more. Push yourself and fall in love with the pushes. Because instead of pushing yourself forward, a lot of us are pushing ourselves back into complacency, back into comfortability, back into the places that deep down inside we know that we don't want to be in. All right, guys. So those are the 4 ways that you can use the flywheel effect to basically create unstoppable momentum all summer long. Number 1, we talked about what is the flywheel. Understanding that your life is a flywheel, that the small, consistent actions are going to lead to the big success that we're looking for. We said number 2, that the wheel rewards consistency, not intensity. So it's not about how hard you go one day, it's about how long you stay committed. We said number 3, that success has a cycle. Follow cycles in your life. I follow the core 4: personal development, skill development, business and team, social media. As long as I follow those 4, that cycle pays me like never before. And then last but not least, fall in love with the push. Stop pushing back the things that you know you should be doing and start pushing the things that you know you should be doing. And that will help you guys out an incredible amount this summer 2025. So with that being said, put a 444 in the chat if you guys got value from today's training. Your boy has to go get a haircut because I have podcasts and things to record this weekend. So I'm excited. I got a 12 o'clock appointment, so I got to finish up here and just go straight there. So I appreciate you guys so much for taking the time to jump on today's call, but also take notes. I don't know, did anybody do their act for this? Real quick, can anybody just share with me what's one thing you're going to apply, one thing you're going to change, and one thing you're going to teach? Anybody want to share that with us in the chat real quick? Did anybody do the act? Because I would like to see anyone who did it. That would be actually pretty dope if you guys did it as well. But if you didn't, then it's fine. Practice it for the next one. Today's my birthday. Let's go, Bria. Happiest of birthdays, my sis. Let's wish my sister Bria a happy birthday in the chat. Praying that you have many more years of life, abundance, and success. Thank you for the amazing energy that you bring to our team and our community on a daily and weekly and monthly basis. We are so grateful for you. The whole Mornings with Nano family appreciate you. I know how much you jump on these calls and how consistent you are with these calls. So we're grateful for you, fam. For real. So God bless you. And I hope you have a beautiful weekend as well. I'm going to change my outlook on the push. I love that, Mila. So real quick. Let's do a quick prayer and then we're out of here. Quick prayer. Father God, I just want to say thank you so much on behalf of the whole entire community. We are all so grateful from the bottom of our hearts for all the amazing things that you've been doing for us. This week has been extremely productive. There's been a ton of great breakthroughs and great lessons and wisdom that you shared with us this weekend. We just want you to know that we see the work that you're doing behind the scenes. We see the overtime that you're putting in and day in for us, because you know that we are committed to you. We are committed to building the kingdom, and we want to continue to do whatever it takes. We learned a very powerful lesson today that it's all about the small, consistent actions that are done day to day, Father, and we are committed to those, and we're going to push each and every single day. And if there's anything that's holding us back, if there's anything that is in our way and that's not serving us, remove it from our life, God, because we are committed to serving you at the highest potential that we all can. We love you so much and we appreciate you so much. Everything that we do is for your praise and for your glory, God, and we're just grateful from the bottom of our hearts. So thank you for it all. Let's have a great weekend. We love you and we appreciate you. In God's name we pray. Amen. God bless. Where can we see the whole live? Just go to YouTube, Mornings with Nano. Just either put Mornings with Nano or Kevin Torres. You'll see it. I should come up if you put in Mornings with Nano, and I have all the recordings up there. All right, fam. So I love y'all. I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your days, and I'll see you guys on the next call. God bless.